use the word traditional, they're traditional Republicans to describe some of these groups, some of these people at the Lincoln Project, Rick Wilson, John Weaver, all of these guys. I don't think of them as traditional Republicans. I don't think of them as traditional anything. If they're anything, it's globalists, and they're globalists that got beaten out in 2016 and are continuing to grind an axe. Not against President Trump. President Trump is just the guy standing in the way, but it's against the people, the ordinary people who count themselves as Republicans all over the country, who count themselves as conservatives. Rick Wilson, John Weaver, and that cabal of morons who thought that they could back globalists all the way to the hill in 2016 and got blown out. They are now trying to exact revenge on the base. That is a critical part of what we're talking about today. We did the DC Mayor Bowser yesterday, and I will get back into that in just a second. But I want to focus in on this Lincoln Project stuff real quick. The Lincoln Project, which takes out very expensive-looking advertisements, looks super cool. They really target it at one man. They target it at President Trump. They take out the ads in the segments where they think he will be watching them. Whether it's Fox News, and I don't think Fox News should be airing these things, or any other networks, they're these 30-second clips that are designed to goad the president into a response. And the truth is that when you get into who these people are, when you get into their records, when you get into their FARA filings, their Foreign Agent Registration Act filings, these people have been working for, or have been willing to work for, external influences, foreign governments, agents of the Russian government, like John Weaver, who filed a FARA form to lobby on behalf of a Russian state-owned company. And now what we're seeing is this coming full circle. The Chinese Communist Party and their media outlets, CGTN, China Global Television Network, have been lauding the Lincoln Project and these never-Trump Republicans at the same time as the political left in the United States have been doing so. So I want to play you this clip so that you can get an idea. I know a lot of this audience doesn't bother to watch MSNBC, and arguably nor should you, but I want you to understand just how much the political left and the left media is pushing the Lincoln Project and driving donations to the Lincoln Project. Let's run this clip.
I'm a big admirer of these never-Trumpers, the Bulwark people and the Lincoln Project people.
I don't give money to political organizations. I've given money to Lincoln Project because of ads like this.
The Lincoln Project is like watching a Jay-Z Nas rap battle. I mean, they don't let up on this president.
I want the Democrats to pay attention to the Lincoln Project. They're doing a superb job.
The Lincoln Project, those are good commercials.
She didn't say who in the rap battle was Jay-Z and who was Nas. I would argue that Nas won the rap battle, by the way. So, and I would argue that the president is Nas in this scenario. But the Lincoln Project, you hear how the media fawns over them. You hear how MSNBC anchors and guests fawn over the Lincoln Project. And let me read you what CGTN, the China Global Television Network, says on its website about the Lincoln Project. Quote, a leading voice in the online political crusade against Trump, gaining particular attraction in the anti-Trump camp. Quote, taken together, the minute clips are nothing short of a psychological warfare campaign laced with extremely personal messages aimed at provoking Trump's deepest insecurities. CGTN praising, quote, the knowledge and resources in Republican politics, end quote, of the Lincoln Project. And also, quote, critics of the most polarizing American president is not uncommon, end quote. Another CGTN editor heaping praise upon the Lincoln Project, declaring, quote, the end of Trumpism at the hands of Lincoln, end quote. And it goes on and on. The China Daily newspaper that you've heard us talk about here on this show time and time again, it's available on Capitol Hill. It stands on Capitol Hill, on the newspaper stands with Politico, with the Hill newspaper. You can get China Daily, the CC propaganda rag, here on Capitol Hill. And China Daily lavishing praise upon the Lincoln Project. They talk about how these great strategists are goading the president. And then finally, here's the cherry on top of the cake. Chen Wei Hua, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but he's the European Bureau Chief for China Daily, consistently retweets the Lincoln Project. Specifically on July the 7th, the Lincoln Project tweeted, good morning, Donald Donald Trump is the biggest presidential failure in our country's history, retweeted by the European Bureau Chief of China Daily. Steve?
Yeah, listen, if President Trump still thinks Xi's his friend, this is the tell. The Lincoln Project is lethal, and I think everybody that's a Republican that's giving money to him should ask yourself a question. What is it about President Trump's direction, President Trump's agenda, and what it stands for working people in this country, in the middle class of the country, you don't like? Look, I've said this for a long time, that we want in a coalition, you got to pull every potential vote in there, particularly Republicans. This Lincoln Project's had an impact. Anybody that's saying it's not is just not looking at the data, particularly in places like in Maricopa County in Arizona. It's one of the reasons that I think McSally's so far down. I think it's one of the reasons that President Trump is having a tough time getting the traction he needs in a state like Arizona, which is a must win. So people that are happy talking to the president about the Link Project are just dead wrong. They're having an impact. And to know that CDTV, the global telecommunications media group for the Chinese Communist Party, to know that the People's Daily, which is the official, Pravda of the Chinese Communist Party, to know that these official House organs are lavishing praise on the Lincoln Project tells you everything about the Lincoln Project you need to know. That the existential threat to the American people, the existential threat to the Chinese people, the most brutal dictatorship known to modern man, is lavishing praise on these people, tells you everything about the Lincoln Project that you need to know. And to know that people are giving money, and that people that call themselves Republicans or call themselves conservatives are working and putting in hard work into this project, and having the worst dictator since the Nazis support you should tell you everything about your work and everything about your target. This thing has been, I think, lethal from the first day. It's insidious, and to me, particularly if you're a Republican, I understand the left and the enemies of Donald Trump want to give money, but when I hear Republicans, I think the story broke, Raheem. I'd like to have your and Jack's input that John Kasich is thinking of going and talking to at the Democratic convention in support of Biden. That shows you that the Republican Party globalists are really taking the mask off and showing who they support.
I think it's wonderful. It's wonderful that he's found his home. It's wonderful that he has finally found somewhere that he's comfortable, because he never had anything in common. I mean, you argue what you want to about the leadership of the Republican Party. He may have had some things in common with them over the last couple of decades, but John Kasich never had anything in common with the Republican base, Jack.
Well, yeah, this whole Lincoln Project to me is the revolt of the sort of elite country club Republicans, the ones who our listeners call RINOs, Republicans in name only. And I think that the American people need to understand, and one of the things you've done so well, Raheem, is cover this in the National Pulse, because people need to see a separate perspective. And back to the Chinese media covering us, almost every day, Steve, now they have some story about the slave era in the United States to try and give a little historical perspective on how evil we are today. So everybody has to pay attention to this. We are in a full spectrum propaganda battle, not only with the CCP and the elites in the global banking centers, but with our own elites inside, prospectively, the Republican Party. And we have to pay attention to who these quislings are and what the ultimate goal is. The ultimate goal is to keep this country safe. The ultimate goal is to keep moving forward as a nation. Everything that is going on in the streets, everything that is going on with the Lincoln Project, it is looking backwards, trying to define us by the worst moments in our history, rather than defining us by really what we are, which is a great people, a great family that should be working together to make this country great.
Steve, we've got